I think we are live. Fingers crossed. Let's wait for a few people to join in. We're not expecting a lot of people today because it is 25th of December, which is a holiday. But we have our first person, first few people joining in.
Oh,
Awesome.
nice.
So we know for a fact that we're live. Great. Love your dedication for the people who joined in on a holiday to hear Kaushik Jai and I talk about bringing technology initiatives to enterprises or traditional businesses. Thank you for joining in. Please subscribe. I'll make my pitch towards the end as well. But let's begin. Hello and welcome to Momentum Office Arts. My name is Yash and I'm joined by my co-founders Jai and Kaushik to discuss topic of the week, which is bringing technology initiatives to traditional businesses. Our goal with this live is to provide you with actionable insights and practical strategies that can be applied to your own business. Throughout the session, we encourage you to engage with us by asking questions and sharing your thoughts. This is a fantastic opportunity to learn from each other and gain new insights that can help drive your technology initiatives forward. So let's get started. Jai, Kaushik, how are we doing today?
Doing
Right?
great.
Relax a little bit compared to other weeks because
Today we have no meetings, so Kaushik cannot get
Yeah,
to say that, doesn't get to say that we have a lot of meetings and
yeah, no meetings at all. So like my calendar is completely free. There's just nothing that's happening. The only meeting that I had was essentially an internal sort of a monthly check-in that I had scheduled 6 months ago with someone, and that's the only time blocked. But this is super free. I'm feeling nervous. I've not felt this often. But awesome. So Jai, take us through what why is bringing technology initiatives bringing to traditional businesses? How and why is that different, difficult, easy than any other tech related initiatives at any other business?
yes. So first of all, if we look at the traditional businesses we are talking about, most of these are where large amount of volume is involved with respect to human interactions. And when we say traditional businesses, these businesses are already well set from beforehand, and so uh, there may or may not be tech involved in the same. What happens is, now with increase in internet consumption from people and advancement in the technology, of course, which I'll take through in a while, what happens is a lot of new things are coming in. And so if we talk about why this topic is important, first of all, then I would say that it's very important that we adapt to the fast moving pace of how things are moving, so as to ensure that like businesses are there in the market. And that is one. Second would be the scalability as well. Now, because of the increase in internet consumption and things being at very ease, it's also important that a technological part is also set well in traditional businesses, so as to ensure that scalability happens smoothly. We'll go case to case from industry to industry so as to dive deeper into the same. But it's like, you cannot avoid it. If you avoid it, maybe then there are no chances, even if you are a huge company, for you to stay, because the new companies are always going to have their tech enablement, and based on which they are going to get skilled and they can replace it even faster. So, yep, it's very crucial for traditional businesses if their technology, if they have not involved technology yet, or if there is a scope of
Hmm.
improving and increasing the usage of technology, that needs to be explored. So that's
Yeah. And when I was researching for our conversation today, I came across a startling and almost a frightening fact, right? Which said that 52% of Fortune 500 companies have shut down in the last 20 years, right?
yeah.
That's like half. So just imagine that in 2004, the list of Fortune 500, and the 2024, the list of Fortune 500, like half of those Fortune 500, the largest 500 companies in the world, half of those don't exist anymore. And that was, I'm sure technology initiatives and adoption has had some role to play in that as well. But Kaushik, what are your thoughts?
I would be actually adding to that is that it's about how would one even go about dealing with this organizational change? Eh? So we know that we are talking about problems at scale specifically, right? So that's when we have, as you just mentioned, when multiple entities start getting involved. Uh, the technological need is it's extremely necessary. So how does one go about having this change? Like, how do I even approach this in the first place?
Jay, I'm sure your answer is extremely insightful, but it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
on
sorry, I
mute.
was on mute. Got it. I'm so sorry. So, so if you talk about how how to go ahead with the organizational change, first of all, I would like to highlight, Kaushik, that as Yash mentioned, that 52% of like Fortune 500 companies are still they are shutting down. They have shut down because of they were not able to navigate through this particular path. So the main challenges that come through is first of all is the resistance to change due to a fear of unknown, because when we talk about, let's say, a company which is doing I won't put numbers here, but let's say it's operating at a fairly larger scale. And if digital transformation is yet to be done, but now they are at a stake where they understand that business can only continue if digital transformation is there. Either their competitor is growing very at a faster pace and capturing markets which are already occupied by them. That could be one, or if there can be other reasons as well, right? So what happens is main one of the challenges which companies typically face is like their own employees are resistant to this particular change, because there is one thing is that routine can change from operational standpoint, and the other thing could be like it's a fear of unknown. They don't know that when they would get replaced. So whenever any such things are coming in, as I mentioned at the start, a volume is involved, even not from the customer standpoint, but on a larger extent, even from the employee number of team members standpoint, that is there. So that is one of the challenges. Second is like at times it like what it typically needs is a clear form of communication, and along with that it also needs a leadership support, which is missing at the times. So what happens is, as you mentioned, how do one do it? We typically since we also provide digital transformation, we typically provide as a consultation part. We typically suggest to go for quarters 8-step framework, which is basically how you need to eventually do this transformation process. So it's not like that, okay, hey, we know that we need to let's say it's a retail industry and they need to implement ERP. So it's not just like they will just implement it. There are ways to do it. First of all, whomsoever is responsible for this particular side, you need to make them advocate for the same, so that the other employees are also ready for that. And there are proper ways in which we can go in detail later on, but such frameworks needs to be utilized so that things operate smoothly, which many companies don't do, because when we are talking about digital transformation to traditional businesses don't have much idea about the technological side, and that's where they don't have the exact process on how to get these things done. Even if they recruit the team on their own for their own selves, they would still need some form of consultation so as to make sure how things go ahead. And this is one of the challenges why people don't operate, or this is where the organization change doesn't happen. But once you follow the process, then it could happen as well.
That's interesting because very often we see this thing where you would have been a brick and mortar
Yeah,
business, and there is a level where from that brick and mortar stage to you are still scaling within that model, but
yeah,
realizing that systems are not working the same way it used to be, when you were small,
yeah,
and people are not working. People and that technology interaction is not happening the same way,
yeah.
or there's somewhere something is going wrong, but you have no idea where is it going wrong or what is going wrong. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, completely. I mean, a lot of things are there because the operations are complicated. people's emotions are also not easily understood. You might not know that why this person is going through this particular phase and everything. So there are ways to do it, and to sum it up in short, one is the framework that needs to be followed through. There are standard frameworks which needs to be followed. You can choose either of them, whichever works best for the organization, and then need to implement it accordingly. And the second is even the training and involvement of employees need to be there from scratch, so that these things happen smoothly. So those are the initial steps one should be taking care of, and then it can move ahead.
And so, one of the things that we've noticed by some of the projects that we've also undertaken, and as consumers or as customers, we've seen other like businesses sort of transform themselves from how we've been consuming their products and services. Right? There's a lot of talk about companies being completely physical in store in general, and then moving to digital, and then over a period of time sort of offering a this thing called phygital, right, which is a mixture of physical and digital sort of seamlessly coming together. And so one of the things that I wanted to understand was that the biggest pushback that comes whenever some amount of technology initiatives need to be implemented is from the team, right? Which is where they would agree to a lot of things when meetings are going on and when conversations are being had. Then there's a passive sort of resistance or passive rebellion of sorts in
Yeah.
terms of not cooperating, not just not letting the project go through. How do you view it? How do you sort of advise owners of these or founders of these traditional businesses that have been around for a few decades or more? How do you advise them to sort of overcome this?
Oh, this is a good question. So let's try to understand. One challenge we already talked about is where the employees themselves are against it, and that's where you're stating that how do we overcome this. But I would like to also highlight that it's not just always about the employees, but it could be from the leadership standpoint as well. So, for instance, let's consider a case where an organization has been doing great, and all of these things were operated through certain set of people. But then, let's say one of the main owners was the one involved in this, and he or she has a thought process that basically whatever frameworks I have set up for the organization, this is how the business is to be done, and they themselves are not ready to opt for this change. So there can be two things: one is employees themselves, and the second could be this set of people who are also the in board of directorship, and then they are controlling this change. However, for the people who already know that these set of changes are needed to be happen, because there is either a need for improved visibility or for improved operations, or it could be an improvement from the experience standpoint from the users, as we mentioned the cases. So how to work on this, as you ask, would be again to work on the model, but along with that they also need to showcase the ROI, right? So what can be done is there has to be ways on projecting this set of ROIs. Once you actually, since it's a business, so when you are going to present this to a board of director, that okay, this particular change is going to help us in these many ways, and if you are going to project the numbers with the right set of KPIs, it would be helpful. So that is one, from handling the challenge with respect to a senior person who has already been a part of board and who is the decision maker. When it comes to employees, as I mentioned, the more focus is to be given on the message has to be passed in unified way. What happens is people are not at times people are not that much comfortable in communicating something because of the oppose that you as you mentioned. But how it could happen is, let's say an idea is being cooked upon digital transformation from in a particular company. What can be done is it can be first discussed among senior hierarchy. The core people who are in a VP position, they need to, and they need to be inculcated with this idea, and they need to be given the ownership of this. What how it turns out is that it's not just an owner talking about these, but ultimately the VPs are also becoming advocates for the same. And then since ownership is given, and also the merit can be given on how they are, enabling this particular thing. So it will become their own mission to pass this message. So the owners or the directors can themselves just put on the philosophy on how they are planning to take the company ahead, and how it would, since more business will come through, it will be beneficial for all the employees. But however, the VPs are the people who should inculcate the training aspect of it and the other benefit aspect for it. So it should pass from hierarchy to hierarchy is what I'm trying to say. And then the subordinate, if they become advocates of this, then things can become easier as well.
I think as a follow up to that, Jay, like so when you mention initiatives on with respect to ROI,
Yeah.
so what technological initiatives are we talking about here that would have a like a direct or a maximum impact upon my ROI?
No, so we just need to understand, like, if the technology is included, then what sort of impact it's going to bring. So, for example, let's discuss it in the format of examples, right? So, let's say a logistic company is there, and it's operating in a traditional aspect where everything is being fulfilled through traditional way. Now, if their owner is getting an idea that, okay, in the market, this is a trend where they are using route optimization through AI and GPS. Now, if the same idea is being transformed over there, what will come up? What would happen is that even the let's say truck drivers are there, they are supposed to do some entries or make sure that the technological tool which is used inside the truck is running up to the mark, and they are marking the entries and all of these things, right? So these challenges will come up, but what I'm trying to say is, if the ROI is measured in a way where everyone is getting benefited, these messages needs to be passed upon, and that's how it would follow. So if this idea is to be presented, you could say that this amount of investment would come through, but after that projections needs to be showcased that, okay, after 1 year or 1.5 years after implementing this particular technology, these are the results which would come up, and this is how it could benefit you as well as all of us. So yeah.
So let's assume that let's define a traditional business, right? So let's say I'm a chemicals company or a textile company or a manufacturing setup that does, let's say, 20 million in annual run rate.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this business slowly, sort of growing at 8-10% a year. I've been doing this for let's say 15 odd years, right? And up until now, I have a system that I have set up, right, which is sort of very people centric. There are some processes in certain places, but largely it is people centric. And in traditional organizations, one of the things that we've also noticed is that the median tenure is significantly higher of employees. Right? So median tenure of employees is significantly higher. So it's typically 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. And so I have certain senior leaders who've been around for a while and they've been working a certain way. In such a scenario, and again, this is a very biased question. In such a scenario, what is advisable? Should it be an in-house initiative to digitally transform the whole organization, or should you have a third-party vendor sort of come in, look at how the system is set up, and then offer consultation, or should it be essentially trial and error where we start with one department or we start with one geography, and then we see sort of what is working, what is not working, what should be the approach, right? So let's say 20 million run rate textiles or slash manufacturing company, been working since 15 years. I'm the owner. I know that there are certain inefficiencies. We are very people centric. We are not process oriented. How do I go about bringing tech initiatives to my traditional business?
Again, great question. Yes. So, I would like to highlight one important aspect to this, right? This business is already doing great, so it cannot afford, first of all, to, anything getting reduced. Business cannot reduce, it always has to go up or improve. What happens is with these many years of expertise that they have in their particular domain, now if they are coming up with an idea that okay, let's have our own team and let's have all of these processes getting done, they may hire or recruit someone in-house directly. But what would happen is there is no person who knows well from their own organization on how whether these things are going right or wrong, right? So they may do this trial and error thing, but it may or may not work out. And when we talk about measuring the projections, it could be difficult because they don't have the exact they don't know the exact KPIs to measure. So what happens in this particular area is it will be trial and error, and it will be obviously a lot of amount of money will be used. But again, if you are hiring these people, it's a bigger challenge as well directly, right? So a good way to go about it would be to get a consultant who is already an expert in this particular field and get these things going. So obviously having a consultant and then getting your team ready through them is more advisable. It may vary from business to businesses, of course, but at least moving ahead with having a consultant is important, and that's how it should typically go, because we need to ensure that the new implementation which is going to come should not impact the existing operations that are there. And for these,
Correct.
there needs to be a seamless integration of digital part that is coming through. If it's a retail business, an ERP has to be implemented in a way where traditional businesses are not impact. I mean, the typical flow is not impacted, and everything is running smoothly for that matter. So, yeah,
Hmm.
for this only a consultant would be able to assist, and not the other way around.
And so for people who are watching this, if you are taking Jay's advice and if your next question is, okay, thanks Jay, where do I find them? Then I want to add that you found them. So you're already on the in the right area. Kaushik, Jay, and I do this for a living, and so wherever you're watching this, you'll be able to find the link to our website. Fill out a form. We'll get on a call and we'll take the next steps from there. So just to add to what Jai said, right? So there are very experienced, mature people in the organization bring in the expertise that is required to run the business, and third-party consultants bring in the subject matter expertise, right? And you want to, as a business owner, you want to sort of figure out a way to bring both of them together, and then without affecting the general business operations, you want to slowly and gradually sort of transform. And so third party is way to go. So if you're taking up Jay's advice, click on whatever it is that you see below this video, and you'll come to the website. But Kaushik, any questions from your side? Or Jay, you wanted to add something? Yeah, please go.
Yeah, just very small things. So we talked about certain set of challenges, right, with respect to getting things done. So mainly, I would just want to reiterate what sort of challenges are there for the digital transformation. First, as I mentioned about integration capability, it has to be very smooth, so that is there. Apart from this, there's a large amount of data that needs to be managed, right? So if it's a digital data that needs to be managed, you need to have those set of people who already know how to do this. You might be really good at your business, but you don't know how that data needs to be managed digitally. And there's a lot of even cybersecurity needs to be there at place. So that particular thing needs to be taken care of. The third would be organizational management. You know how to run your organization for sure, but when there's changes like these, there are certain frameworks which needs to be followed upon. So that was the other part that we discussed. So and the last one would be more about the skill set as well, right? So if you are recruiting someone in house directly and getting things done, there could be a good chance that that particular person which you are hiring as your maybe a tech lead, what happens is they may be comfortable with a particular set of language. For instance, let's say you want to develop certain in-house software for your operational needs. What happens is just because they are comfortable in a particular tech, they would recommend you certain tech, and you are hiring someone expert. So there are slight chances that even this technology which this person is comfortable with is the one which is not going to have that amount of talent pool coming in. So it is always advisable to go for someone who already is in the market helping with these particular solutions. At least it will help you with getting the idea on where you stand and what needs to be worked upon. So you can see a complete overview of how things are going to operate first. and get more details over it. Yeah, Kaushik. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was. Could you give us any example of such traditional business that went ahead and implemented such a digital transformation and it has led to some change? Do we have any case study that we could talk about?
All Fortune 500 companies that are alive today. But please, Jai, any examples of cases will be helpful.
So one I can recall. I mean, there are a lot of case studies to cases for sure. But one I can recall and which many people would correlate, especially, is Asian Paints, right? So it was very early in the market, I would say, when even when digital transformation kind of discussion used to happen. But even before that, it understood and implemented business intelligence and data analytics in a very nicer way, where it gets to know that which particular area
For
needs.
people who might not know what is Asian Paints, if you can talk a little about what is Asian Paints and then what they've done.
Yeah, sure. So Asian Paints is basically it basically provides the paints for residencies and commercial buildings as well. So if you want to paint any of your buildings, you can get the paints from the same. What it did was, I mean, there can be very many details that can be there, but I would just like to sum it up real quick, and that is, it set up a system where it was able to understand like how and what sort of colors are amount of colors are needed. It implemented BI, so that it got to know that where particular set of colors are needed, and so that it can deliver exactly that amount of it can just supply that amount of paints to that particular store. So that was one, and it also implemented technology in which it in a way where that particular color gets developed real fast, so that there is no challenge with supply, and only that amount of paints are being shipped to that particular store. So yeah, that was one. The second example which I could recall right now is about Zara. So Zara's retail chain got a great amount of response, but it was not having this type of digitized operations first. But while doing this form of ERP solutions and implementing it for its own, it made sure that the brand value is not going down and the transformation is going smoothly. So these are the two cases which I could recall for now.
I
Yeah,
remember.
and so sorry, Kaushik, you were saying.
No, I was just Asian Paints is a good example because I remember a friend of mine shared me a Harvard paper on how Asian Paints is a data company in disguise of paint company. So and I was also curious. I think that's a very good example because I think that has entirely made them the dominant player in the market, at least I guess. I think you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
someone who is next to them. I mean, who is in the same level as how they are playing at a larger level. But yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like Asian Paints, so their digital transformation obviously was done by IBM, and they are a leading paint and decor company. Subsidiaries in 15 countries, 27 manufacturing facilities, serving with customers in 60 countries, and have like 70,000 dealers all across the world, right? And so to digitize all of, I mean, why digitizing all of that is a big question. I'm not even sure as to without digitization, how was that company running, right? How do they make the? So I think their digitization journey has been well documented by Harvard, by IBM, by a lot of companies with their just-in-time delivery, with their, as Jay mentioned, the speed with which they were able to bring out new colors in decor and stuff like that. But I think that's a great case study to sort of look at as well, and Zara for sure. But with that, we come to the end of our conversation for today. For all the people who joined in, thank you. And it was a pleasure catching up with you over the holiday season. that we have ongoing. And thank you, Jai, for all the insights that you shared. Just if you have still not subscribed, please consider subscribing, sharing it with someone who you know who runs a traditional business, who's looking for any sort of digital transformation, building digital experiences, or bringing technology initiatives into their organizations as well. We run Momentum 91, where we use AI and technology to solve meaningful business problems. If you got value from this video, do subscribe or follow. If you didn't get value from this video, still do subscribe and follow so that we can reach to a meaningful number, and then we have resources to bring more value in the future videos that we do for you, right? But until then, until next week, until next time, thank you for joining in. See you soon. Bye.